Hi, everyone. It says we're live. Let me know in the comments if you're seeing me. I'm going to give us a couple of minutes to get settled in. I know that sometimes when you're waiting in the waiting room and then it starts, you have to refresh or something. And Amy, if you are able to see this right now, I tried to make you a mod, tried to make you a moderator, but if that's not okay with you, just let me know and I'll remove it. Hi, y'all. Julie, Penny, Artie, Nicolina, hi. Hi, Simbri. Yay, I'm so glad you made it. Thanks, Amy. I appreciate it. I am feeling really proud of myself I'm proud of Joe and me. We together figured out how to do the thing where you schedule in advance. So I'm excited that so many of you knew that this was about to happen and that you're here at the very beginning. Hi, Christine. Yay. Lena. Oh my gosh. Yay. Hi, Lena. I'm so happy that you're here. This is awesome. Oh no, Ellie here with a broken wrist. Ellie, I assume maybe you don't know this. I don't know how often I mention her, but my sister's name is also Ellie. And I've been realizing recently that I feel like it's such a good name. I mean, I've always loved it because it's my sister's name, but recently I've just been like, I just feel like Ellie is the name. So you've got it. Hi, everyone. Oh my gosh, it's Artie's birthday. Happy birthday. I hope you're having the best ever day. And I'm honored that you're even here watching and moderating my live on your birthday. All right, I'm going to tell you all what the deal is going to be. I feel like we're all here, we're all settled in. I am just going to get ready. I have a couple of things from Yes Style. Let me first tell you, though, that I have some skin prep on already. You might be able to tell because I'm kind of glossy. I'm not naturally this glossy. I put on some sunscreen, and the sunscreen is one of the things that I'm newly testing from Yes Style. It's the Benton Mineral Sun Cream. And I actually really like it. It felt like putting on a lotion, and I was able to layer it. I felt like I was layering this sunscreen for moisture, which like who's ever like, I'm going to put on more of that sunscreen. It feels good. Like when has that ever happened in life? That happened to me this morning, putting on this Benton Mineral Sun Cream. So I put that on. Kara, I see you saying that your audio isn't lining up. Maybe try refreshing. I know that often solves things like that for me. I'm so sorry that that's happening. But if it's happening for everyone, then like let us know, please. So I put on this, and then I did my usual kind of like prep with glossy stuff. So I used the Chanel Le Beige and the Auric Glow Lust. That's like what I've been doing most of the time. And I put the Chanel Le Beige all over my face. That's a thinner one. And then I put Glow Lust just on my cheeks and a little bit to here. I mean, I'm trying to kind of calm this down, and sometimes those really reflective, glossy things can help do that. So I just wanted, full disclosure, I just wanted you to know like what we're starting with. And I've been testing out this Purito BB cream. So that's like the main thing that I want to just do on camera. It's not a first impressions. I've worn it a couple of times, but I have been having kind of an interesting experience with it. And then at some point along the way, I'm just going to like tell you a little bit about what Joe and I decided to do around an engagement ring. I know a lot of you have been really wanting to know. The full story is on Patreon, and I went more in depth about it on Patreon than I will on big YouTube. So if you really need every single scrap of tea, then that's where you can find it. But I know that I can't just like never ever mention it on YouTube. So I'm gonna mention it today. Okay? Okay, let's get started. Oh, Jordan says, I love the old version of the Purito BB cream. Can't wait to hear about the new formula. I didn't realize that this was a new formula. I am going to, okay, here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to start by just putting it on by itself. I'm torn because I really want to like go in on my eyebrows. I often I'll put my I'll just put my eyebrows in place. I guess they don't look that bad. I kind of brushed them up and they haven't had time to like collapse yet. But yeah. Well, we're okay. We'll do them as step number 2. So this is the thing that's crazy about this product to me. It has this gray tone, and I was worried. It's the lightest shade, obviously. I don't know if I've ever found a BB cream that has a light shade that, like a lightest shade that is as light as, for example, the concealers that I use. And you know, I was like, I'll try this one to see if maybe it will. And the shade obviously isn't, you know, light enough for me because there's the Aaron's Faces concealer, which is too dark for me. So it looks like really gray and really dark compared to what I usually use. And where's my Makeup Forever? Did I forget to bring it over here? I so carefully was like, oh, here it is. I remembered it. Here's the Makeup Forever. This is more of like my brightening concealer, and it's much, much brighter. But there's something about that gray tone that really helps to cancel redness and neutralize. And that, combined with the fact that it is so pigmented and yet so good for dry skin, has had me going back for it like every day since I started trying it. So I'm just, I don't know. I wish it were not so deep. You know, I wish it were, for me, I wish it were just like a shade or two lighter, but I'm just going to show you what I'm talking about. So even though it's clearly like not the color of my skin, and you can see that the tone isn't quite right, it's a BB cream. So it's really moisturizing feeling, really lovely feeling for the skin, but that's like pretty amazing coverage for those blemishes. And you can see that that gray is causing it to neutralize. You know what I mean? Like there's something that's really working for me with that. So I wanted to kind of show you. Julie's like, I can only focus on one thing. I see you, girl. I see you. We're going to get to it. I just need to kind of like get in the swing of things first. And this is the swing of things. It's me being like, just me being like this over and over. All right. So I just wanted to show you that. And even rubbing it in and blending it out, it's blending in, it's getting glossy, but still it's provided some coverage. But what I've been doing is mixing it, obviously. So I'm mixing it with my green color corrector, mixing it with my concealers, and I'm just going to go ahead and put this all over my little face. And while I'm doing this, because it's going to take some time, I'll start telling you about the ring. So the short story is that Joe and I have been together for 12 years. And it's not as though we spent those 12 years unsure as to whether we would stay together. And then we recently decided. I feel like a lot of people, when they announce that they've gotten engaged, it's like an announcement that they've finally decided, or that they've decided that they're planning to stay together forever. But we decided that we were planning to stay together a long time ago. Long time ago, like years ago, early in the 12 years. I'll just put it that way. And to us, that didn't necessarily mean that it was time to get married. I discussed my feelings about the institution of marriage at more length in the Patreon video about this, and I'm just going to leave it there. I'm not really feeling like going into that stuff right now on big YouTube, but that is one of the reasons why we never really wanted to get married. And then, you know, finances, that's another reason we don't really have it in the budget of our lives to throw a big party. And that always seemed like the only reason to do it to me. So we recently mutually decided to get legally married after all of this time. And we still don't have the money to throw a big party, and that's fine. And that's one of the really kind of great things about it. It's like, it's so okay now. It's like more okay with me than it's ever been that we can't, and that we aren't going to be able to do it that way. I'm feeling so much less picky and obsessive about how things go, especially in light of this pandemic, not just regarding like marriage or a wedding, but regarding like life and aesthetics and everything. I'm, still on that path, and this pandemic has really like cracked some of that open and allowed me to get even further. So it's definitely coming to bear when it comes to this decision. So we're going to do things in a relatively non-traditional way, and not all of the details have been settled yet, but I'll keep you updated. I will be, I'll be doing like little check-ins about it from time to time. I don't know how much of it is going to be something that is public or that is on YouTube, but I will keep you updated to whatever degree like feels comfortable as we make our way through the process. This is kind of like the beginning of that. Hey, Mio, I'm so glad you're here. Kristen says, I had a pop-up wedding where we only had 10 people and it was at a restaurant. It took a lot of pressure off and it didn't break the bank. Yeah, sounds amazing. So yeah, plans are afoot and I will update you. And I feel like an engagement ring, even specifically like a diamond engagement ring, you know what I mean? That is something that some people choose to do and some people don't. And so when it comes to like picking and choosing traditions, we didn't just like automatically be like, oh my gosh, we're getting engaged, we have to like get a ring. It's like, choose your own, you know what I mean? Like choose your own way of going through these paces. And after a little bit of thought, I decided that I felt like it was one of the traditions that I wanted to engage in. And I think it's partly because we're jettisoning so much of what is customary and what is traditional. And so it's nice to sort of have a couple of things like holding it down, a couple of things that are what people customarily do, especially when it comes to communicating to one's friends and family and one's community. And I find that when it comes to expressing to people that we have moved into the phase where we're planning to become legally married, a ring is like the cleanest and clearest and quickest way to express that. It's like people really, really understand it in a way that they don't necessarily connect with like, we're going to get married at some point in the future. We haven't done it all these 12 years, even though we've always kind of thought we would, and we're not quite sure, blah, blah, blah. You know what I mean? Like that, people are like, great. But if you're like, we're engaged, then people can really like get into the joy of this transitional moment with us. And that is part of why I wanted to do it. I also, love beautiful things, and it is a beautiful thing, and that's fun too. So that's where we're coming from. Just checking in with you guys. I know I've just been chatting along and I haven't seen very many comments. Thanks, Amira. Yeah, the thing about not being attached to the traditional tropes of weddings. It's funny because I thought I would be maybe more attached to some of them. I'm glad that I've been able to let a lot of it go, and I'll actually tell you more about that a little when I tell you about the actual ring. I'm really glad that we're doing this at a time when I'm kind of like through the woods of like that kind of anxiety. I do think that certain rituals and traditions are really important. And I mean, not certain ones need to, I'm not saying that there are certain ones that everyone needs to adhere to, because those ones are really important. I think that having some ritual in general in one's life is important. I think that it's good to have like ways for communities or for more than one person at a time to like honor rites of passage, So I do want to do some things rather than just being like, it's nothing to us, but I just don't want to get caught up in all of the like intensity of spending so much money and all of the really impractical decisions and making people fly coast to coast to be there for one day and not having even time to connect with people and all of this stuff. I don't want to get into that. For me right now at this phase of life, it's not in the cards. And I think Joe has never really been interested in that kind of thing. So anyway, this is too much talking about the wedding, which hasn't even happened yet, and not enough talking about the ring, which is what people are here to hear about. But I am very impressed with what has happened on my face. I don't know if you guys are, but I, especially as like a non-foundation wearer, like I'm not used to putting a layer of something all over my face and just giving myself a blank canvas. And I even feel like because it was all super nourishing and not totally full coverage stuff, I don't even feel like that's quite what happened. I do feel like it still looks very luminous, very, very skin-like. Like it does look like real skin. It doesn't look like, when someone puts on a full coverage foundation and then they like paint their face on top of it, and it really looks like a mask, like a sort of a blank matte mask. I don't feel like that's what it looks like. It looks kind of like some sort of BB cream concoction, which is exactly what it was. So I'm just reading into that. I think the addition, I've been doing this for a couple of weeks, or maybe even months, like mixing green color corrector and like a couple kinds of concealer and like mixing it together and using that to even out my skin tone. The addition of this BB cream into the mix I just feel like even up to the game in terms of how moisturizing and skin-like they look, the things that I put on my face. So I'm just going to do some quick spot concealing, and then I am going to do a little bit of powdering, and then we're going to move on to makeup. And then I will tell you about actual ring shopping. It's interesting because, because ring shopping is interesting, in my opinion. But I feel like it's particularly interesting in the context of my personal history with anxiety and obsessiveness around shopping. And I'm going to try to touch on that a bit. Ooh, yes, Sharon. I'm really curious about this. Engagement rings in the US only really go back to genius marketing by De Beers in 1938. Otherwise, it was a thing of royalty or, unfortunately for many, dowry bride price. Yeah, gross. So this is such a great comment because Sharon's touching not only on kind of the slightly yucky early history of a lot of the traditions and the extremely misogynistic history of a lot of the traditions around engagement and marriage, but also pointing out that the current tradition, the contemporary tradition of engagement rings, was about sales. You know what I mean? Like it was created to drive sales. So like an idea tying into something that is really genuine, love, the commitment between two people, making people believe from birth, basically, that in order to honor that, you have to spend a ton of money on a really specific thing, and that marketing has been going on for 100 years, and we all swim in that water, like live in that world, breathe it in. Yes, exactly. Yeah. So that's like some of the stuff that I've been thinking and feeling. Have you guys read Trick Mirror by Gia Tolentino? There's a really good essay about marriage. It's the final essay in that book. And if you're watching me and you're kind of like, what? Like, I've never thought about marriage and engagement and weddings as anything other than really special and sweet, and like you kind of want a little bit more context, I do recommend reading that. I'll try to remember to link it down below. It's not exactly like she speaks for me, you know what I mean? Like we have slightly different takes on a lot of things and very different takes on some things. But if you're interested, I don't know, if you're curious about other takes on marriage and weddings and the wedding industrial complex, then definitely read Gia's essay in Trick Mirror. All right, I'm spot concealing and like carrying on a monologue at the same time is very difficult, friends. Isn't this great that because the top of the Kaleidos palette comes off like this, I can use it as a little mirror. One of the pieces of equipment that one needs to do this business that you don't, I think, often think about is a mirror that you can hold to see really close to your face, but that's shaped and sized in such a way that it doesn't block what you're doing from the camera. You know, like a big, beautiful hand mirror, if I held it up right here, you wouldn't be able to see what I was doing. So a little tiny skinny mirror like this is very useful. Oh, but I stopped talking. I'm sorry. Forgot. And I'm stopping again. But that's pretty much it. That's pretty much it. This is just, by the way, get ready with me for a day of doing all my normal stuff. Like, get ready with me for a day of childcare and cooking and editing and writing. So it's not going to be very extensive or glamorous, and the spot concealing doesn't need to be perfect. All right, let's powder, and then I'll move on to brows and talking about ring shopping. I love peeping in. Hi, Silky. Yay. I'm so happy to see you. I love peeping in and seeing that there are like exchanges and conversations going on in the comments. I wish I could do my live and view my live at the same time and just be in the comments with you guys, but I love it when there's a sense of community is all I'm saying. And I love getting like a little peep of that. Okay, as tempted as I am to go right into cheeks, let's do brows. I'm just going to do soap brows. I haven't dyed my brows in a really long time, and it's overdue. I just haven't had enough time. So I have actually been filling them in a tiny bit, which I almost never do. Just the tiniest bit I've been doing, except for the days when I start with a tiny bit and then I get out of control and I go overboard. Hopefully this won't be one of those days. So I was like, let's get a ring and let's, have it not be too expensive, and let's have it be old and, vintage or antique. I was kind of like thinking I would like something from the 1920s or 30s, and, something that is just a pretty little old ring that somebody didn't need in their family anymore and like is selling, And I feel similarly about kind of like the diamond industrial complex as I do about the wedding industrial complex, that the concept of a certain kind of diamond being like more perfect or more valuable, that's all been manufactured over the last 100 years. And so I wasn't like, I did educate myself a little bit about diamonds just so I had a sense of that, but I wasn't feeling pressed about having it be like a certain way, like a certain size, a certain kind, shape or cut, clarity, fanciness, whatever. You know what I mean? I just, I learned in doing a little bit of research that diamonds are really, really beautiful. Like they're really sparkly. And so I was able to get behind the idea of like having a ring that had like a little diamond in it or a couple little diamonds. I was like, yeah, I like that because they're so beautiful. But it, I didn't want it to be big. I definitely didn't want it to be expensive. So we found an estate jewelry shop in Pasadena. So, a short drive from where we live in Los Angeles. And we went there and we went in and I was like, here's our budget. not very much, I think, compared to the people who usually go into a shop like that shopping for, fine jewelry or even for engagement rings. And I was like, I'm kind of looking for something from the 1920s, 1930s. I'd like it to have gold in it, but like be like a combination of metals. And I'd like it to have structurally some sort of geometric, more masculine shapes and some sense of softness. And I just don't really have like a vision of an exact way I want it to be. And that, my friends, is the thing that felt so different for me and so revolutionary, because I tend to really fixate on like a vision of the way that I want things to be. And you would think that for something that presumably is going to be on my ring, on my finger forever, like for most of my life, that I'm going to wear every day or whatever, for something that I'm going to use that much, you would think that my obsessiveness would have been at an all-time high, you know what I mean? Or my need to control the aesthetic or to get the perfect thing, my perfectionism, you would have thought that it would be at an all-time high. But in fact, I felt that it was at an all-time low. And I think I said in the Patreon video about this, in which I went into these feelings in a little bit more detail. No, my earring. I'm not going to be able to find my earring back right now. So I'm just going to have to take the other one off. The baby that I live with, Julian Alvar's baby, when you drop something on the floor, she goes, "Oh no, thing!" But like insert the name of the thing. You know what I mean? So if you drop a spoon, she's like, "Oh no, spoon." If you drop an earring, she's like, "Oh no, earring." I feel like I'm going to be doing that for the rest of my life. Like, "Oh no, makeup. Oh no, glass. Oh no, food. Oh no, whatever fell on the ground." It's so good. What was I just talking about? Yes. Hey, Jason, or as I call you in my mind, Jason. Jason is here. Yay. Lacey's here. Yes. Hi, my love. I'm so glad that you're here. I was talking about the thing of having it be at an all-time low instead of an all-time high. And I think when I filmed the Patreon video, what I said was that my guess was that there was just something in me that was like, some part of me was like, I refuse to mar this joyful occasion with that troubled history, like with that side of myself. You know what I mean? It wasn't like I had no aesthetic opinion about the ring. I mean, they brought out a handful that they had that fit our requirements, like old rings that were in our budget. And there were almost all of them, I was like, no, that's not for me, right? So there was part of me that I wasn't like I was going to get a ring to wear for the rest of my life that I disliked, or that didn't seem like it could work. But the part of me that's like needs to see everything in the shop or in the world, like needs to know every option and have tried on every option and explored absolutely every possibility and like gathered every single shred of knowledge to completely optimize and narrow down and go through several phases of feeling and thinking about, and just that part of me that needs to like exhaustively vet everything and every feeling in order to arrive at like the nexus of my emotional like connection with a thing and my sense of ego and my sense of aesthetics and my sense of the past and the future, the present, like the part of me that does that about like a lipstick purchase or the purchase of a dress and has done that. Like there's that part of me is like so developed because I've been that way for so long, until recent years when I started to evolve from that. I just did not want that. I did not want that woman to go with Joe into the jewelry place to pick out a ring that is, this symbol of something so joyful, and that's not all about me. You know what I mean? It's like, it's not all about me. It's like I was saying, sort of a semaphore to my friends and family, and it's also a connection to Joe, and it represents the future in a way. And somehow I managed to do that. I managed to not let her in. She wasn't welcome, and she didn't come. She didn't show up. And so I ended up with a ring that it's probably not the ring that she would have chosen. And that's because it's just the one that they had of the ones that would work for us, that fit me already, which was kind of special. It didn't need to be resized. And it had, you know, it checked the couple of boxes that I had, and it's great. And that's it. You know what I mean? Like, that's kind of like the beginning and end of it. And I'll give you a close up of it as soon as they finish filling in my brows. I have been just using this Jillian Dempsey. Where is it? Oh, it's in my hand. Kohl eyeliner. It's just a kohl pencil. I've been using it on an angle brush because I don't have any like brow pencil products right now or anything. I don't have anything like that in my possession. So and it's just to brush a tiny bit of color on top of my soaked brows to fill in the little cracks. So I've just been using this kohl pencil. I feel like if I didn't have this kohl pencil, I could be using like an eyeshadow or something. But this is great because it's sort of an all-purpose thing. Of the couple of things that I've received in PR from Jillian Dempsey, this is the thing. This is the best. This is by far the best. It's a really, really good product. And that's it. That's just it. Oh, goodness gracious, my computer. I have to plug in my computer. It's all right. We're fine. I'm fine. You're fine. Everybody's fine. Okay, hopefully the camera will focus. I wasn't really able to get good footage before when I filmed the Patreon video, but hopefully you can get some sense. There's a like a stone in the middle. It's a round stone in a square setting. And then on either side, hold on. Oh, there we go. On either side of the setting in the center, there's like an almond-shaped setting with a little tiny diamond in the center, and they look like eyes. You see how much that looks like an eye? Are we back in focus? I think that when this ring was made, which was probably in the late 20s, early 30s, I think that the marquee diamond shape, which is like a diamond that's shaped like that, I think that the jeweler was trying to do like an imitation, a ring that had like a sense that, like an illusion of a marquee diamond on either side of a central stone, but didn't have marquee diamonds, or that would have made the ring cost too much or something, and so just did that shape in platinum with like a little tiny stone in the center of each one, and that made it look quite a lot like a little eye on either side. But I love it. I feel like there's something, it looks pretty classic and just sort of like antique-y when you look at it, but then when you look closer, there's something kind of unusual about that shape, which again, like I didn't even think about when we were in the shop. I just put it on and I was like, this one's great and it fits, and it's very delicate compared to all the other ones that I tried. It's really thin and lightweight and really delicate, and that seemed very, sustainable for me to wear it a lot. But then I was like, I'm kind of into those little eyes on either side. I don't know. It ended up being something I feel like I'm more bonded to it over time. And so maybe I'm just sort of like making up this story for myself, but I'm kind of into it. Amanda, first timer on the channel. Hi. Well, This is me. And this is everybody. Okay, let's go on with the rest of my makeup. But if you have questions about it, that's all I can think to say. I mean, I think that to me, the thing that's great, the thing that makes it like a story is just that I had to fight a little bit with my shopping demon, you know, the part of me that was like, did you make the right decision? Like, is this going to be okay for you? I did have to fight with her a little bit because I hadn't gone through, I'm so unused to going through. I'm so unused to making a decision about acquiring something without going through the whole rigmarole of like, you know, vetting my feelings and vetting them again and then learning everything and all this stuff. I'm unused to doing that. So because I didn't do that, there were these feelings afterwards, like, oh my gosh, what happened? You know, but I successfully like put that to bed, and now I have absolutely no worries. You know, now I'm just like really pleased and like this is the one for me because it was the one that was there at the time and it's perfect. It's like letting life bring things to you and then accepting them with joy, kind of like is what I feel like I was trying to do with this process, and that I've been trying to do for months now. And I feel like it wasn't seamless. It wasn't as though there were no potholes, but I did successfully do that in a pretty big way this time. So that's like the actual tell part of the show and tell that I feel like matters to you guys and to me. All right, I am going to put this lip product on because it also came from Yes Style. It's the TikTok lip tint from I'm Meme, and I'm kind of into it because it looks the same as the Glossier. It's the same packaging as the Glossier Vanillic lips, which have been discontinued. I really love that product. And this is packaged the same way, but it's more of like a matte stainy kind of thing. I tried it on one time, but then I didn't really get a sense of whether I like it. Shannon's asking, how did my family react, and Julia and Oliver? That's a good question, Shannon. I will tell you. I can't really talk and I'm doing this. This is in the color My Kinda Coral, the shade 007. Very matte, very velvety, very silicone-y. It's that thing where it's a combination of a velvety matte finish or I would say it's an attempt at a combination between a velvety matte finish and a popsicle stain. And those two things are kind of opposite of each other. You know what I mean? For something to be velvety and matte, you think of it as like sitting on the skin. And like a watery popsicle stain, you think of that as like soaking into the skin, staining the skin, becoming one with the skin. So sometimes I think that products that try to combine those two aesthetics, there's sort of like an identity crisis and it doesn't always go well. I feel like with this, it's gone as well as could have been expected with the formula. I'm gonna leave it on for a little bit and see how I feel. So Shannon was asking like, how did my family react? How did Julie and Oliver react? It's funny because we have been together for 12 years, Joe and I. So I don't think that the thing that has surprised people is not that we have chosen each other. You know what I mean? Because like people knew that we have chosen each other. I'm moving on to makeup, you guys. I mean, to cheek makeup. I'm using this Lila Be Lovely Divine Duo, which I shopped my stash for it in my most recent video. That was like what I'm using instead, or the makeup that is my old makeup is better than new makeup. This is what I'm using instead of continuing to lust after the Westman Atelier Baby Cheeks. And I'm going to blend it with the Charlotte Tilbury Beauty Light wand, which is like on its last legs. I'm almost completely used up. I'm actually going to start with that and then add the color in. So yeah, nobody's like, nobody's like, wow, I'm so excited for you guys that you realize that you're each other's person and you decide you're going to be together. No, because like everybody knows that we are each other's person. It's just sort of, I think people are surprised because many people thought we were never going to get married. And so they're kind of like, whoa, really? You're actually going to do it after all of this time? And some people have kind of been like, well, why now? Like, what made you decide to do it after all this time, like when you weren't doing it before? So I have been kind of like talking about that stuff. And again, I talked a little more about that with my patrons in the Patreon video. And so we've been having that conversation with some friends and family members and keeping this stuff way out here instead of letting it drift in. And people have been really excited. It's actually weird because for us, like we decided sort of slowly over the course of a couple of conversations, and it was months ago. We kind of decided months ago, and then we were like, I was kind of like, I better get a ring before I go visit my family, because that's like the easiest way to communicate, to really make it clear that we're really doing it. And so it sort of feels to me like kind of old news. But so I think on some level I was surprised that people were so excited. You know what I mean? Like my dad was like, oh, Hannah, like when I showed him the ring, and like my grandmother was like, you're engaged, and I guess I didn't realize how fun it was and exciting it was to like show people your ring to tell them that you're engaged. I mean, I guess it's part of the process that I didn't really think about in advance, but that turned out to be really pleasurable. So yeah, everyone's excited. And my infinitely cool parents are totally on board with us doing things in a non-traditional way. That's really, really great. There's nobody in our families who's like putting pressure on us to do it in a certain way. I think that they just are kind of excited that we even decided to do it after all this time. And so like, that's exciting enough for everyone in and of itself. Nobody's over here being like, you've got to do this, or like, I won't be happy. Which I know we're really lucky, because for some people, for some families, for some inter-family relationships, for some relationships within families, this ceremony, this event can be like a really big stressor and point of contention. And I don't think that, it doesn't look so far like it's going to be like that for us with anyone. So that is really, really lucky. All right, we've got the lip, we've got the cheek. My true Hannah wish is to just not wear any eye makeup except for mascara. And I've chatted so much during this whole thing that it's already the time that I said that I would end. We have 1 minute left before the time that I said that I would end. So I think I'm just going to go with my true Hannah wish and just put on mascara. I'm trying to use up this roller lash, this tube of roller lash that's pretty old. It probably came in PR a long time ago. Amira says, I love that lip. It's kind of growing on me. It's like both natural and not natural. And it also seems like a perfect match for some colors in my dress. Like, it's good. It's good. Nicolina, and then I can go to sleep. Yes. I'm sorry we're keeping you up so late. Okay. I can talk and do mascara at the same time. I can. I just have to. Yes, that's such a good point, Molly. It's reminding me of a slightly toned down NARS Catherine. Lena says roller lash forever. The roller lash has grown on me over the course of this tube. Also, Lena, if you all don't know Lena Norms, she has an amazing YouTube channel, and I really recommend going and checking her out. Lena, I loved the video where you wore the doing the most video, where it was like, I did this like week of doing the most or 2 weeks of doing the most, and then Lena did the same thing. And it's funny because like you were doing a thing that I had done, but watching yours inspired me to want to do it again. And every time I think about your video or I think about doing the most, I like crave to do it again. And it's because of watching your doing the most video. It's just like, I don't know. I feel like you really elevated doing the most, but, but when I say elevated, I mean, you just made it like both more goofy and more serious at the same time, rather than just being like, I'm going to wear my like nice pants to work, which is like what I was doing. So I kind of want to do like a Lena version of doing the most. Doing the most. Yeah, exactly. The most of the most, and then doing the most of that. Oh, Chelsea says roller lash is my one and only. Yeah, I initially felt like it wasn't going to give me enough volume. But then as it dried out, it started to, I used to only layer it. But now that it's on its last legs, I feel like I can use it by itself. All right, and then I'm going to go ham on my lower lashes. Jason, you're not a fake fan. You're the realest fan there is. Just putting it out there. By go ham on my lower lashes, I mean delicately brush roller lash in a single layer into my lower lashes. Just feels like going ham to me because I have such long lower lashes. Okay. It's happening. And by it, I mean the end of the live stream. Here's what I have to say. Thank you for watching. Thank you for being here. Thanks for listening and watching. And Lacey wants to do the most. I support it. I think that's it. I'm going to try to come back and link. I'm going to try to link everything. If you're watching on the replay, hopefully the makeup that I used should already be linked. I'm going to try to follow through with that this time. I don't always do it on a live, but I'm going to do it this time. And I will try, now that we know how to schedule the live in advance, maybe next time we'll try to schedule it like a day in advance, like really schedule it in advance so that people really know. I think that's it. I love you all so much. Thanks, Amy. Thanks, Shannon. Thanks, Amanda. Thank you all for being here. Yeah, and you know what I'm going to say. Don't forget to take extra good care of yourself today so that you can be the most effective version of yourself as you do your work in the world.